So, what'd you think of The Substance?
What did you think of The Substance?
I loved it, man. When what like it was the trailer is like a fever dream watching it because you kind of understand what's going on and it gives the basic premise of the movie. And I won't go into spoilers just yet, but at the very least, it's an aging star. She's offered a drug that can kind of put her back into business as a younger self, and then just you kind of figure out quick like something's going to go wrong with this stuff, and that's what the movie's going to be. And I didn't know much else aside from that trailer going
I
into
didn't
this,
know
and it
anything.
was a wild ride.
I pretty
Really?
much knew nothing. I didn't see a trailer. I didn't see a commercial. I might have seen some clips that I consciously was like, I'm not gonna watch this because I know I want to see this movie. So
Yeah.
I think it's one of those where I've heard rumblings about it, and I honestly can't tell you how exactly it first came to me, but I remember thinking I'm probably going to see that, and I'm just gonna. It sounds like something I shouldn't. Maybe something somebody explicitly told me. The less you know, the better. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into it like that. So I was pissed because before the movie started, they had this, like, you know how some movies have the intro of the lead actor of the movie is like, thanks for coming to the theater to watch my movie. Well, it was Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, and they started showing clips from the movie. I literally held my face up in front of my held my hands up in front of my face, like, what the fuck? And I said out loud, what the fuck are they doing? Like, we're about to watch this movie. Don't show me clips. I'm like, I was so uh unaware of what was going to happen. I was like, please don't. I made it this far, and you're about to show me clips from the movie.
Right at the finish line of like a movie's about to
Yeah,
start and it's spoiled before
it's
the
like, what are you
credits even
doing?
begin.
um I went into it, like I said, I think from what my vague remembrance, that it was some kind of sci-fi plot. um and I didn't really know that it was like a body horror movie. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have seen it if I had known that going in, but it might have swayed me to not go and see it. But I'm glad I did not realize that, because I thought it was awesome.
I didn't know about the body horror at all,
Yeah.
and I was really interested on where that third act was going to go. And when they mentioned body horror, I figured it was just like the weird shit that was in the beginning of the movie, and
Right.
that's really it. And it wasn't anything like too much for me. I don't care about gore or anything like that. Certain things make me squeamish. Like I hate it when people like slice open their hand, or like
For a blood
you know,
pact,
or
or a sacrifice.
yeah, or like there's a scene in one of the recent horror movies I watched where someone's like almost about to fall down a chasm, and the only thing that they have to pull them back up is a sword. So the person gives that
Yikes.
the person hanging like the grip, and then they're holding the bladed end, and you can hear like the noise of like the slice. That stuff gets me.
Yeah.
And certain other pieces of just like eye gore I can't stand if it's realistic enough. But the beginning parts of it was not too extreme that took me out of the movie. It was almost comically obscene sometimes,
Yeah,
with
I
just
mean,
like
what
the
as it
craziness of
ramps
what was
up,
happening.
it as it ramps up, yes. I was trying to. It's funny. I was reasoning with myself. I'm like, I don't remember this or hearing that this was a body horror movie, and I'm like, yeah, kind of like
Hmm.
you said. I'm like halfway through. I'm like, it's there's parts where it's more just a sci-fi tale to me, and then it's like, oh no, wait, this is it. The turns it takes. I'm like, yeah, this is body horror, I guess.
Did you see it with Laura?
No, no, I saw it with
Oh no. Did you go by yourself?
I didn't see it with Laura. I saw it with my friend Carlos. I was just going to go see it by myself. Then I was like, "Hey, does anybody want to go?" And he actually watched it the night before. He's like, "I want to see it again, and I want to see your reaction to it." Shout out to
Your
Carlos.
reaction definitely in the Discord channel made me laugh, because it's like, yeah, it's so like the, like I want to talk more about the first, like leading up to its ending, but even just to go right into spoiler territory, that ending was so comically gory. I did
Yeah.
not expect it, and like my theater was packed when I saw it, but because it was, like the tail end of its run, but it's still, there's a lot of buzz, and even when it was theatrically released, I don't think it was a wide. I don't know many people that were.
I think it got like less slots at the theater, but
Yeah, I think too many
it's
other
still playing
big
around
big
here.
movies were out.
Yeah. It's still
It
playing
is.
around here, but I think it's on its way out.
Yeah,
Um
it was the one, um only one showing on Saturday night that whole weekend, and I think it played again on Sunday, but it would have been the same thing on it being late at night. And the theater was packed, and during that last scene, man, like half the people were, I don't want to say screaming, but like the other half was absolutely laughing their asses off,
yeah.
because it was just so ridiculous and campy, but done
Yeah, I
right.
think the laughs in my theater, including myself, were sporadic. Like different parts of the movie hit for people at different times, but I
Yeah.
everybody's laugh or it was valid like whenever they were laughing.
Hmm.
And I loved that I could feel there was a woman to my right, like 2 seats away. I could like feel her getting out, like turning in her seat and squirming like during certain parts. Like what like she can't look away, but she doesn't. She's just like her
Yeah.
body is reacting to what she's seeing. That was
Even in the
awesome.
very beginning, it's not even like body horror, but just the artistic approach on doing the super close-ups of Dennis
Yeah.
Quaid's face at every opportunity, and then just that ridiculous business meeting of basically him telling Demi Moore that she's fired, and he's just super close up of the shrimp being pounded away, eaten. And it was so disgusting. And it's a very normal scene, but the way it was shot,
Yeah.
the I think I knew this movie was going to be special after that scene and the exterior shot of her outside of the hospital, because it was just, that's different. You don't see that kind of a shot normally.
Oh, when she walks out and like that, just that super
Hmm.
wide of the place. But on that,
Yeah.
um, that Dennis Quaid eating shrimp scene might, despite what comes later, it might be the most disgusting scene in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm
And he's
no
just eating, and
mukbang
he's just mukbang.
ASMR. Can't do it. You can't do it. I'm not that kind of person. And that was just so, it was
there's
so well done.
and there's so much going on. Like the movie is. It's funny when I say it's like it's not it's not realism. Like yes, of course, there's this fantastical duplicate yourself body horror science fiction aspect to it. What I mean, just like the world that it builds is so heightened and hyper realistic, I guess you could say, or just
Hmm.
exaggerated rather. It's a caricature of Los Angeles and the business, and it's just done so. This movie has such like a vision, I guess I would say. I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with the French lady director. Apparently, people like her first quote unquote feature film. I think um, that I haven't seen, but they said that one is good as well. But like, yeah, this movie has such a vision with the way it's shot and just the direction and the cinematography and the editing. It's like a really it all came together, and it's just a bonkers fucking idea and execution that it's surprising how well it came together. It seems like it's like a B movie idea that has art and talent and money behind it.
I I always feel bad because I know that you and Tim are much more the cinephiles amongst the four of us, and it's not for a lack of, like I do recognize and appreciate the better movies that are well made, well shot. It's just I usually go for a lot more of the entertaining ones, and it's very rare to find one that was as entertaining as this. that had that same quality put into it. Because I'll admit, Hollywood makes a lot of schlock, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
usually the stuff that I watch because it's just popcorn flicks, you know? And then some of the more artistic pieces, like, yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, say what you will about, that was Ridley Scott, right?
Scorsese.
Yeah,
One of
even
them.
worse.
One of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a renowned director, and like it's not entertaining whatsoever. It is a drag, and it's not even because of the material that's being shot and what they're trying to do with it. It's fucking boring. I could read a Stephen King or a Patterson novel, and that's entertaining, or I could read a history book. You can still convey certain ideas without it seeming like it's just a drag, and this is, I still feel the message is super strong. It killed me the entire time how Demi Moore is, what, 60?
Yeah, maybe. That sounds about right.
And yeah, and in the movies she gets cut because she's 50 and they don't want someone as old as
It
her.
ends when you're 50, they say.
Yeah, and she's gorgeous. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's hard for me to, I mean, there's so much going on. There's a lot of not subtle stuff going on. Um about body image, and I guess kind of the way the industry and probably and society at large treats women who are aging. Um and it's like, but it's almost like a dark fairy tale too. Like it's like she's being treated unfairly, but she's also falling into this trap, and it's like, I don't know, maybe it's also like a parable for substance abuse too. It's literally called The Substance, and it's
Yeah.
almost like she becomes this, literally she's another person when she's on this quote unquote drug, and like she's at odds with herself
It
more and
was
more
almost
during the movie.
like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde
Yeah.
meets like Portrait of Dorian Gray kind of thing.
Yeah.
They did say that Dorian Gray was an influence in the story, or at
Yeah,
least in like the script writing piece.
that makes sense. But Demi Moore was like, I can't tell you the last thing I have seen her in. I know this feels like one of those movies where like the the actress takes the role, and it's like, it's, I'm not saying it's her life because this movie is so boisterous and like over the top, but she's an older actress in Hollywood and probably has dealt with a lot of this feeling, and like it's like one of those where art or imitating life, I think, in a way for her. Maybe I'm just guessing, but she, I haven't seen her in a lot, and she just like fucking killed it. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's such a, it feels like it's not pandering or something to say like she's so brave to do this role, and like, but she really is, like, this is like, she's let it all hang out in this movie. Like, she she cannot hide from the camera in this movie, and like what, and the message too was that it's like showing to you. um yeah,
I looked
she
up
did a
like
great job.
some of the I looked up some of like the IMDb trivia, and being her age and then doing full body nudity, and they covered nothing, and that was like bravery in that role in general is needed because it's a reflection of her current state of life. But icing on the cake or salt on the wound, that yeah, you're going to be doing this buck naked. It's like, well, damn, that's extremely tough. But I guess she had camaraderie with Margaret Qualley because of she had to do the
Yeah,
exact
they're in
same
it.
thing.
Yeah, pretty, yeah, really. um and this movie makes me mad because after the fact, I'm talking about it with Carlos. I'm like, like, yeah, wow, like Demi looked great for her age, and it's like, and Margaret, like, wow, she's like stunning and beautiful. And it's like, damn it, I'm like one of these old investor guys at the end of the fucking movie that are like chasing the topless women. I'm like, no, it's not supposed. That's not what I'm supposed to be.
No, it'd be bad if we wanted Sydney Sweeney instead. You want to go get some shrimp after this?
Dennis Quaid, I guess, despite what any politics. I don't know. Somebody told me like he's got, his views, whatever. He did really do a really great job. It was very
He did,
funny.
but no, yeah, Dennis Quaid did fantastic. Like it was perfectly unlikable,
Yeah.
and it didn't take me out of the movie because it's just like he portrayed like sleazy executive
It it's pretty
masterfully.
much three main characters. It's Demi Moore as Elizabeth Sparkle, Margaret Qualley as Sue, the her offshoot, younger, better version, and then Dennis
Hmm.
Quaid, the sleazy producer, um, that fires Demi and hires her, unbeknownst to him, younger self, Sue.
So
Um,
unceremoniously too, like with a career as upstanding as hers, and then it's just like, yeah, you're old. Here's your stuff.
put out the pasture.
Yep.
Um, yeah, this I don't have much many poor things to say about the movie. There, one thing I singled out. This is really just a nitpick, and I'm like, I would want to ask the director, like, why did you film it like this? There's just that one moment, not just one moment. This is an incredible scene when she finally opens her retiree slash I'm firing you gift, which is like a French cookbook. She's like cooking in the kitchen and watching Sue on this talk show. And I'm like, the talk, I know there's this kind of this, you know, heightened world they built, but the talk show was like really bad. Like it just looked like not a talk show. We all know what talk shows look like. It looked like it was just really like cheaply done. And I'm like, I couldn't reason if like what the aesthetic choice was because it just like kind of made
Like
me,
if that
it
was
distracted me by how
like,
bad it looked.
it could have been too. I don't think. I think some things might have been stylized because of
Yeah.
its looking through their, like, Demi saw the billboard that they put up right in front of her apartment window.
Yeah, with Sue, young
I'd
Sue.
imagine it's not right in front, but Demi Moore sees it and it's right in front, and she's like irritated by it, whereas Sue is being completely not humbled and arrogant and just I need to buy a syllabus. I don't remember the fucking word for it, but just she's being like, like pompous about it, like ego tripping, and she wants to see her face right there.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the talk show, and where I can imagine, Demi Moore's watching the talk show and she hates it. And that just translates to being it a lot worse than it normally would
Hmm.
be.
Yeah, that's not a
Because I mean, if you watch, like, everyone's seen Jimmy Fallon, but have you ever watched him interview a celebrity you hate? Whole different versus like
That's an
a
interesting
celebrity you
take.
love.
Um,
But the whole movie is stylized in such a overly dramatic way that it is campy at times, but it is not Adam West campy. It's craft masterfully crafted in the way that it was
I
shown.
I felt you mentioned like having a moment earlier when you were like you were gonna like it. That for me, I think, was just a bit earlier where it was that shot. So the movie opens, she's like finishing her an aerobics video, and she goes into the bathroom, and there's just this wide shot of the bathroom. Oh, she has to use the men's room because the women's room is out of order.
Yep.
She goes to a
Hmm.
stall. Dennis Quaid comes in on the phone, thinking nobody's in there, and this just extreme. The camera is shot from a perspective of like being right over a urinal, looking over the whole bathroom. He comes right up to the camera. Is like you might what if you're just looking at it without context, you're like, what is this shot? Like his eyes are barely even in the frame. It's like he's so close to the camera, but it just so perfectly sets him up as a character and like what you're in for, I think, in the movie, in a sense, and as far as the
Yeah.
style and it you almost want to say it looks like a bad shot, but it's not. It's so perfectly planned and designed that it just, I was like, this
Yeah.
is
It
going
was
to be an
clearly a
interesting
choice.
movie, like a probably a fun movie.
Yeah, it set the tone, and I'm glad it was able to follow through. Because by the the end of the second and start of the final act, that's when you kind of very comfortable with it, and that curveball of an ending completely sinks it.
The
And it's
old
just so out there.
um so yeah, I mean there's the whole ominous instructions. We won't get into the weeds about how she gets offered the substance, but the instructions are ominous, it's mysterious. We don't know where she's getting it. Just some entity out there is providing a substance that lets you split off into a younger different. I'm assuming that's not what they're not saying she looked like that when she was younger, because everybody would fucking recognize her. So like I would just say, oh, it's a different person that Margaret
Yeah,
Qualley is
it
playing.
it's said in the movie that the substance takes who you are and perfects it.
Right.
So that would have been the perfect version of what's her name, Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Sparkle. Yeah. So it's like you kind of see where the story's going to go. Not that it makes it predictable, what you're really going to see, but it comes with these hard set of rules about you need to switch every 7 days to the back from your old body to the new body and vice versa. Or it doesn't say what's going to happen, it just says you better do this.
I like that. And you kind of learned with them whenever Sue broke the rules.
Yeah, and it was Sue breaking them because of course Sue is younger, beautiful. She's getting the role, essentially getting the old job that she was fired from, um getting Elizabhe's old job and starting fresh. So she
Even
wants to live in that
even
world
that was
more.
campy.
The
Because
aerobics.
watching, yeah, because the new age aerobics, it was basically we're the target demographic of watching something like that.
Yeah.
It was so stupid, and it's just like, oh my god. Even the '80s one was bad, but at least like the '80s one that Demi Moore was doing, it made sense, and
It's
we
something
had
we've
seen stuff
seen
like
a
that
lot.
already.
Yeah, right.
Remember like Suzanne Summers, and that's the only one I can think of that had that kind of aerobic style show. And
Right.
then seeing the same thing modernized is just like, what the fuck is this? And then the way that everyone is just like, this is the next best thing ever. Put her on Billboard, she's going to be the number one. Have her host a New Year's Eve party, and it's just she does like 3 or 4 aerobics videos, and she's now the next big thing.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is they your guide to the outside world is just Dennis Quaid and what he says is going on. It's like it's very, very contained. This movie, it's
Mm-hmm.
like she's painted as a huge star, but you only see these little moments with people, and not like her going out to events or things and being recognized. And I think that's really what I guess sets up this heightened version of it, because it's like I don't know, they almost feel like trapped in this just this little tiny slice of world, even though they're becoming these mega stars. It's just an interesting, I guess, dynamic.
At the end of the movie, I really didn't know after the full body transformation, because the rules state when you take the substance the first time, it's a single dose only. But there's
Right.
enough juice in there for almost another dose. And she takes it, and she replicates again, but instead of it
The
being a
young one. Yeah, the
perf-
young one.
yeah, another perfected version, it's like the ugly version, or like the other half. But it's also some Resident Evil 2 style bioweapon looking thing where like she's got 2 faces, and one of them is like, it's not supposed to be funny, but like you see Demi Moore's fully shaped
Oh, it's
head like
funny.
constantly screaming. And
It's
then
it's funny.
yeah, her teeth are falling out, or like from before. No, that was the
It's
wrong
the
thing. But like she comes back to the whole event thing, and just people, you can't miss it. She's so much bigger. She is clearly deformed, and we know there's prosthetics just like everywhere covering her body.
How the
And
hell did she get back on the lot?
she got so far. She got to all the way to the main stage, and nobody noticed. And then I'm wondering, like, is the audience just like blind to the ugliness, and it's just they're gonna. I didn't know where the movie was gonna go, because I actually thought it was gonna end on like the high note of, instead of it being Sue, it's gonna be the what they call it, like,
Oh, Monstro Elizasu.
yeah. I thought she was gonna be like the next big thing, but then,
That's how I had that feeling because, I know we're now that we're covering the whole movie, but she runs home. She's starting to fall apart because she needs her spinal tap fluid to stabilize, which is something we didn't really talk about.
yeah.
Another part of this whole rules about switching bodies. But she runs home, splits off and comes back. That her getting ready as the monster was that. I mean, everybody was laughing. She puts the earrings on. um, uh, when she comes back to the studio and gets on the stage, and there's the long hallway where, oh, by the way, she has stapled Demi Moore's younger picture onto her face.
That was fucking great.
To hide.
I love that.
To hide what's underneath, but not that it's hiding anything, because as Nick mentioned, she's just it's a grotesque monster at this point. But when she first walks in, everybody is congratulating her and saying like, "We love you. This is gonna be great." And I thought it was going to turn into this whole satire kind of commentary on like, they've created this monster and it's like that's what they wanted.
Mhm.
Like, they're looking past what we're looking at as this monster. It's like, no, this is the monster they created. Like, I thought it was going on this whole thing, and it's like, oh wait, no, that's just a dream. That's what she's imagining or hoping it's gonna be. But everybody just, no, they treat her like a monster. They treat her like Frankenstein's monster when she shows herself and kicks off. Up until now, I think Dead Alive, this old Peter Jackson movie, had the goriest scene I've ever seen in a movie. But I think this does supplant it.
It was so ridiculous.
And it's just her hand getting cut off, and that's where the blood comes from.
So much blood. It's like, imagine the bit from The Addams Family, the movie where, Wednesday cuts Pugsley's arm off, or the other way around. I forget which is which. And they spray blood on like the first few rows. But no, just there's like an Olympic swimming pool's worth of blood just sprayed everywhere.
Like with a fire hose. Yeah. That's the force of which the blood is flying out. It's so heightened and unrealistic and hilarious. And
the whole rest of the movie is so, I don't want to say like real science, and not in terms of the movie from the 80s, but just it's based on reality enough that seeing this is just like, this is what we're doing, okay. And it goes on for, and it's one of those jokes that goes on for like a minute too long, but that's what makes it even funnier.
Yeah. It really milks it, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, I don't want to say everything that's in this movie. Like, there's so much that we're not talking about,
mm-hmm.
that it's like this movie is just jam packed full of like moments and that just, and jokes and heartfelt scenes. Like, I do want to mention that like really sad scene where she is going to go on that date with like, her dweeby friend from high school that hits her up on the street, and she's so concerned with how she looks. Every time she tries to leave, she sees the billboard of young Sue outside her house, and she goes back to the mirror and tries to look better, and then she just like breaks down and like doesn't even go out, and it's like, man, that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
That moment just goes to show, like, Demi Moore just like really, Demi, she really just killed it. She did a great job.
I feel like there's a lot of physical acting too. There's not that many lines and dialogue through it. There is, but a lot of the core scenes that really carry the movie are done in silence, or at least it's camera work and insinuation of certain things happening that the watcher must understand to get what the next thing is gonna what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend this movie enough, especially if you can handle gross out, uh, gory imagery. Even if you can't, maybe just avert your eyes a little bit because you know when it's gonna happen. But
Yeah, it's some
it's just
bits in the
it's such a well done movie.
yeah some bits in the beginning and definitely the end really have it the worst. The your friend Carlos had a really good idea of wanting to see it again because the more I like walking out of that theater, the only thing I could think of was like I need to see this again. And there's not many movies that I usually see nowadays. Like I saw Beetlejuice. I'm good. I liked it a lot,
Yeah,
but I'm not going to see it again. Trying to think of like any other things that I watched recently too in theaters, and I saw a lot of the most recent stuff, and I really doubt I'm ever going to see them again. They're not bad movies. Like Twisters, good movie. I'm not going to see it again. If I do, it might be a rare thing. And this one, that's the only thing I could think of. Like I can't wait to be able to download this and stream it once it's available on digital media because it's was so well done that having a second go round, this movie deserves to be seen twice.
absolutely. Yeah, I will definitely catch this again. I would love to go see it again in theaters, but I don't think I have time this weekend. It might be. I feel like this should be in theaters for Halloween, but I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
right.
gonna make it that long out here.
Yeah, let's release all the Halloween movies in the middle of the summer.
I know this wasn't your point, but I would recommend this movie, and I would also recommend My Old Ass. That was actually a really good movie too. As far as like things I want to see again, I
Yeah,
definitely want to watch that one again.
I saw the poster. I
Or
haven't even seen any of the trailers.
it's an indie. It's a coming of age like dramedy, but it's like I really enjoyed it. In any case,
It's with Aubrey Plaza, right?
definitely recommend it. Yeah, she's I wouldn't see it expecting like 90 minutes of Aubrey Plaza. She's used kind of like Jaws and the dinosaurs in that movie, even though the marketing might tell you different. um, she kind of plays. I feel like in this in My Old Ass, she plays herself in a way, but that's not a negative thing.
No,
Maybe
that's
like a reeled in version of what you would think of herself as, if that makes any sense. She's really good in it. Like, yeah, that's not to say I know they might be marketing it. I don't think I ever saw a trailer for it, but if they might be marketing it as she's in it the whole time. She's oh wait, I shouldn't talk about this other movie that you don't know you're getting spoilers for. But she's not in like the entire movie,
that's good to
let's
know.
say.
The only last thing I do want to say about this the substance is the soundtrack was also amazing. I like that synthwave.
I want that theme, that pumping beat that's like you're in a club kind of feeling.
Yeah,
It's so good.
and it's almost diegetic, and the way
Yeah.
that it constantly it's not even a long thing. It's almost like in Deadpool where they sampled Michael Jackson's Beat It and they played it at specific parts. It almost had that same kind of feel to it where only like the first two or three notes of that song would ever play at the whenever like the substance is talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I need more of the substance, and then the droning beat would play for like a hot second, and then movie carries on. And then all the other times music was played, I always loved that synthwave kind of club, like super heavy bass kind of thing, not like dubstep, but like just the synthwave thing. And this was, I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely like modern day club music, I guess is how I
Mm-hmm.
describe it. They yeah, I'll say it again. This movie is it like fires on all cylinders. The production design, the cinematography, the music, the editing, it all comes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you have to hand it to the director because I think that's why it meshes so well. She probably had a really good it's clear she had a good vision and was able to, corral everything in together into a great movie. But it's all great.
It's disappointing to me that so many, like, I'm not hearing about it at all, you know? Like film critics and like movie circles have seen it and they praise it, but then it's like that's it, you know? I'm not hearing enough buzz that this movie deserves, kind of thing. That soundtrack, it definitely a banger. But
I wonder if that's a fully fledged song or like just part of the score that was written for the movie, and how much of it there is. I have to look it up.
I'd buy that on vinyl.
Vinyl, it's praise.
Hell yeah. But you're right. I don't want to go in too much into spoilers, or at least I know we spoiled a lot of it, but at the same time we also barely scratched the surface. There is a lot more, and especially in like the begin, like not in the beginning, the middle pieces where it's just the dynamic of how Sue and Elizabeth kind of interact with each other without interacting, and just the constant back and forth stress that each person is feeling because of the other person. And it's, I keep saying it, but I mean, it really is like one of the best movies I've seen this year, if not like at least top 3.
Yeah, we've said a lot about this movie, but also said nothing much about the plot. And like, I don't think I hate spoilers. I don't think listening to this ruins any kind of enjoyment you might get out of the movie, because it's an experience, and you can't get it from just listening to us talk about a few things. So definitely go and see it.